welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kane Murray, Don Hutchison and Shaka Hislop here in the studio, and we will start by talking about Mauricio Pochettino, who has become the top target to be the new US men's national team coach. So it's not just there, which we'll get to in a minute, but yes, just a reminder of his resume after starting out at Espanyol and then Southampton. He's gone on to manage Spurs, PSG and Chelsea, the last of whom he parted ways with at the end of last season. It was a sixth-place finish for Chelsea last season and a Carabao Cup runner-up accolade as well. That's how things are looking when it comes to his resume, as Ian Darke now joins us to talk more about it. Ian, you're an Englishman, but you are also the voice of US soccer here with your Go-Go USA ways. How do you feel about this?
I'm never going to be allowed to forget that, am I? What do I feel about it? I think if they did appoint Mauricio Pochettino, you'd have to say that is a big coup for US soccer. 2 years out from the World Cup, getting an elite level manager. Okay, it didn't really work out at Chelsea, but I think he was on the way to getting it worked out when, for some mysterious reason, they decided to part ways with him. That's another story, of course. But, you know, he's managed top players, hasn't he? Paris Saint-Germain, he's taken Spurs to a Champions League final. Players want to play for him. So, okay, he can't make them great players, but I think he can probably mould the best kind of US team with the material available. So it has to be good news if they can get it done. But I think that still has to be a pretty big if.
Shaka, where do you stand on him as a coach here? Because if you look, obviously we've seen the name Jurgen Klopp linked with all these jobs, but we know he's taken a year out. When you think of Jurgen Klopp, you think, okay, he could probably take a big name club job anywhere else right now. Most people would have him. What's Pochettino's stock in this aspect? I
think he's not quite on the same tier as a Jurgen Klopp, or a couple others, but that's rarefied air. And Pochettino, I think, is on the level just below that. Given his resume, given all the things that the clubs that he's coached, the personalities that he's managed, the successes that he's had, and in particular, some of the development of players that you've seen, particularly through his time at Southampton. I look back to all the work that he did at Spurs, and you cannot help but be impressed. I think his reputation took a little bit of a knock at PSG, but personally, I feel that's more to do with PSG and the culture of that football club than any of Pochettino's feelings. So as managers go, again, and we kind of saw that play out during the course of this summer. As clubs were looking for new managers, that list of elite managers just seemed to be non-existent in so many regards, where we're talking about Bayern hiring Vincent Kompany. That's kind of where we are right now. So in terms of talking about national team jobs, you totally understand both England and the US going after someone like Pochettino. Now, again, we see who kind of comes out, if those rumors are true, who comes out on top. But if you set your sights at the very highest of managers available, I think Pochettino is there. And again, the key phrase there is managers available.
Now, as you just said, national team jobs, and we alluded to it at the top, he's also the top target when it comes to the England job as well, according to reports. And I see you looking a little bit cynical there about that. Why?
Well, because I said yesterday, and I stand by it, I don't feel comfortable with the English FA just buying a Euros or buying a World Cup. If they went and got Guardiola and paid him 50 million or 100 million, you know, you should have, unless it's an emerging country that need help, I totally get that. But if you're a Frenchman, you want a French manager. If you're a German, the English have got enough English managers to choose from where they don't have to go to Pochettino. Eddie Howe, I think, has done a better job in the last couple of years than Pochettino. I thought Pochettino was very unlucky to be sacked by Chelsea. And a lot of Chelsea fans are not happy that he was sacked. And this is a guy in Pochettino that was linked with Real Madrid probably 3 or 4 years ago. So his stock's quite high. Probably not in terms of the medals and the honours. But I think, like Shaka said and Ian said, it's what he's done with younger players. He should never have been sacked by Chelsea. He works well with young players. It takes him a little bit of time to get going, as we saw that. The back end of last season was really good. But Pochettino for England, I just don't see it. I don't feel comfortable with it.
I feel like you've half said a little bit yourself, though, there. His ability with young players.
Yeah.
We know that he's someone who can thrive in certain circumstances under pressure. We've seen that. He's been at these big clubs.
Yeah.
It almost feels like you don't agree with it, but you've said a few of his skills that would probably suit the England
Yeah, but I don't agree with the principle. I don't agree with the principle that England, as in the FA, and the national side can go and just buy a Guardiola and give him £50 million, or buy a Jurgen Klopp, or buy a Pochettino. I think, as I said before, unless it's an emerging country, and it's not just little England, not just because I work in the Premier League and live in England, but I just think you should have enough managers in England to take the English job. And there might be one or two American managers thinking, hang on a minute, like, it's a little bit disrespectful to us. There might not be loads of candidates, but it's a knock to them.
For me, I think while there are some people who feel that for a national team, as with all your players being from one country, so should your manager. I don't agree with that. And I think England has breached that a long time ago between Capello and Göran Eriksson. Nobody accused England then of well, certainly if they did, they failed spectacularly in buying a World Cup or Euros. They felt that those were the best managers available and kind of given the players that they had to handle at the time who was needed. So I feel as though England has already, while there's some countries kind of sticking to that, England has already kind of smashed that to pieces. So for me, and also to Don's point, why it's more palatable in so many regards, is Pochettino's, the bulk of his work, certainly work that he's best known for, has come in English football. So I'm even more sympathetic in that regard. Again, I don't see it as an issue. But Pochettino, kind of given his record and reputation in English football, I don't see it as a problem.
You don't think that would be a knock to English managers, though?
Well, English managers will have to speak. I am not at all bothered.
Would you be bothered, Ian, as an Englishman?
I think I'd prefer it to be an English manager. We had Fabio Capello, Sven-Göran Eriksson, and they had very, very good players, like Steven Gerrard and Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, the list goes on, Paul Scholes, and the team underachieved. And I think it's right in history that in major tournament history, World Cups, European Championships, I don't think any country other than Greece in 2004 at the Euros have won with a foreign coach. Now, that might just be a bit of history and be slightly irrelevant, but I think Eddie Howe is the right guy for the job. But that's gone very quiet. It looks like he's staying at Newcastle. It's a pretty thin field with English managers. Graham Potter, but he's been out of work for a long time, and his last job was, well, you'd have to say failing at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel would be interesting if they are going to go this route, because I think he is a big Anglophile. He likes England, he likes working in England, and I think he'd jump at the chance. So it perhaps wouldn't be a sensation if it ended up being him, although he has this habit, doesn't he, of falling out with his bosses.
Ian, if you had the option, though, if you were Pochettino and you had the option of the US men's national team coaching job and the England job, with all the pressure and the expectations that comes with the latter, what would you take?
Well, I think, being realistic, he would take, given that chance, he had both of them on a plate, he would choose England, because England have got a better chance of delivering a big trophy. That's the reality of it.
Do you agree?
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you got both on the table, the chances of winning something with America is pretty slim. If you go into England, and all managers will back themselves and they'll look at the talent pool, and someone's going to get it right. Southgate was close. He's been to semis, he's been to finals, and he's really close to getting over the line. Managers always back their ability, and at some point, you'd like to think, or they would like to think, that they can get the job done.
OK, well, let's hear from Tyler Adams, because he's got his thoughts on who the next manager should be in terms of what they're going to bring to the table. He wants a ruthless manager, saying, for myself and the young team and kind of where we're at, I think we need someone that's almost a little bit ruthless, coming in and putting everyone in their place and understanding that, listen, this is what needs to be done and this is the way we're going to do it. And there's no really ifs and or buts. It's not really a conversation. It has to be more of a decision that's made, and this is the way that we are going to play. What's your reaction to what you've heard there, Shaka?
I am totally indifferent to it, and the reason I say that is because, and listen, while I get it, Tyler Adams has asked a question and he has to answer. I think players answer questions kind of clinically sterile as possible. We're only a couple of months removed from Greg Berhalter being the right man for the US men's national team, and that camp going into the Copa America was the happiest camp that anybody, I think it was Tim Ream was saying he, as experienced as he was, this was the happiest camp he'd ever been involved with. And then all of a sudden, the Copa America implodes, or their performance in it, it implodes, and this change is forced, and now all of a sudden, what we had to make it the happiest camp ever is not what's needed. What we now need, a couple of months. So
we are the most selfish beasts on the planet, footballers. Because when you've got a manager in place, he's the best manager I've ever had. He's amazing. But when you're not in the side, you're like, not sure I'm having him. Yeah. And all of a sudden he gets the sack, and then you get asked a question about a new manager, and you go, that's exactly what we need. Because you want to get off on the right foot, you want to say the right things. So when you look at actually what he said, there's not too much to dissect.
Oh, let me take out, Ian, the fact that he has said, though, we need someone who's ruthless. We need someone who's just kind of going to give us no ifs or buts. This is how we're playing, and this is what you're doing. You're doing it my way. There's something that he said in there, surely, that maybe he feels that they need that strictness maybe in the US men's national team.
Yeah, I think he's right. Let's be honest about this US team. We've been talking about their promise for 2 or 3 years now, but they haven't delivered yet. They flopped at the Copa America. There's no other way of wrapping that up in any kind of candy coating. They flopped. The World Cup is 2 years away. Yeah, I like the sound of what I like Tyler Adams. I think he's a good player. They need to keep him fit. It's a big problem keeping him fit. But here we are with the World Cup. Somebody's got to come in there and mould this team, which does have some talent. It's probably not any kind of golden generation, but does have some talent and could make a decent impression at the World Cup. So they do need a top boss to come in there and knock them into shape. But words are one thing and actions are quite another.
Is Pochettino ruthless and someone who'll tell you the way it is?
I don't think he was at PSG, was he? I mean, that's a difficult...
PSG was just a
It's
weird...
a difficult 3 or 4 players to try and manage. But I don't think that's his style. I think, what Tyler Adams is saying about being disciplined, I think probably what he's alluding to, and it's not so much timekeeping or being late or fines, I don't think it's that. It's probably been lost in translation. What they need is someone like a Pochettino who's going to put them into a shape and have a style of play where the US can sort of grab onto and feel as though they're a part of it because they're watching a team that's playing the right way. A Pochettino's style football is very good to watch. So probably that's what they need, where they've probably had managers, and I'm no expert on the situation, and I've not seen loads of it, but what they need is they need a manager who's at another level to what they've had in the past.